Let me just start by saying in marketing world, there's really push versus pull marketing. Push marketing is where you're pushing a message to an audience that you hope is interested in what you offer. You use audience targeting and all these kind of things like social media and even things like radio and billboard and those things where you're pushing a message to an audience. What I love about pull marketing though, is that you're attracting somebody who's already voiced their own interest in what you offer, just being found when they're looking for what you offer.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the co-founder of WebTech, Justin Crawmer. WebTech is a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in SEO, PPC, CRO, content creation, web design, and much more. So excited to have him on today. Justin, how you doing?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Of course, it's our pleasure, man. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs, tell us about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into what you're doing with WebTech today?
I guess in terms of the marketing world, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started with a candy store and then a window washing business, and then rock chip repair became a thing for me. I was working for an auto glass company doing rock chip repair and windshield replacement sales. I eventually started my own. And with that company, I built my own website using GoDaddy website, it was called at the time. And I published it to the web, and then I went to Google that next day and typed in Utah Auto Glass Company, and I was like, I'm a Utah Auto Glass Company, why am I not found? And that started me down the rabbit hole of figuring out SEO and how to get my own website ranked. And then it led me into affiliate marketing, where I was doing actually lead generation in the auto insurance space, where I started doing lead generation I had a website called getautoinsurance.net, and I actually, back in the day, I started doing affiliate marketing in the lead generation space for auto insurance leads. I set up a website. It was called getautoinsurance.net, and I got it ranking number 1 and number 2 for the phrase cheap car insurance and cheap auto insurance. And I was above Geico and Progressive and all the big brands. And I found myself making a bunch of money in the affiliate marketing world, which allowed me to leave my position that I had at a company called CHG Healthcare, where I was working in the marketing agency. It was a big company that had 7 brands. And the way that I kind of got myself into that position as SEM manager at CHG was by being able to show them that I could rank these other websites. And I kind of really established my career there. When my affiliate marketing business took off, I left the company and they offered to keep me, and I ultimately turned them into my first client. And that's where WebTech began, was with my old former employer was my first client. That was a little bit of my journey. There's a lot more there, but I kind of started out as an entrepreneur, found myself in the corporate world, and found myself working myself out of the corporate world through marketing. And I met my business partner, Scott, with WebTech. I met him while I was at CHG, and he's who I call the grandmaster of SEO. He's head and shoulders above anybody else I had ever worked with. That's how we met. And then we formed an agency together, and it's kind of been, I guess, history ever since.
It's part of the journey. It always feels like we can never really hit all the points that we as entrepreneurs go throughout our journey, but it all is an influence and a learning experience to where we are today. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs who will use their past experience and go into a same industry. If you were working in healthcare, someone goes into healthcare. If you're in the rock chip industry, then you go into rock chip. So it's to see that evolution. To create this brand and everything you've done, congratulations to that. But let's dive in more into just the expertise of everything that you're doing and how it can help other entrepreneurs. SEO is search optimization. I feel like this is where most people go to find solutions to their problems. They're going to research. And if you show up, I feel like you're going to be a much more warm, pre-qualified lead, as opposed to maybe doing some cold outbound or some other lead generation tactics. Do you agree with SEO in that aspect? And what are we seeing as far as the trends and changes with AI and the no-click search results?
That's great. Let me just start by saying in marketing world, there's really push versus pull marketing. Push marketing is where you're pushing a message to an audience that you hope is interested in what you offer. You use audience targeting and all these kind of things like social media and even things like radio and billboard and those things where you're pushing a message to an audience. What I love about pull marketing though, is that you're attracting somebody who's already voiced their own interest in what you offer, just being found when they're looking for what you offer. It's really qualified traffic. It's people coming to your website on their own research. And the one thing that I love about organic is that people really trust the organic listings more than the paid listing. And we do pay-per-click as well, and there's a lot of benefits to that. But we're talking SEO right now. What I love about the organic approach is that it allows people to find you in the first few listings of Google And that's where all the clicks happen. We can get more into those metrics around why it's so important to be in the top 3 or top 5 positions as opposed to just being on the first page of Google. We'll do click-through rates and things like that. But what I really love is that people come in, they feel that Google has vetted every website in the world, and they put you at the top for a reason. And they come in pre-qualified. There's inherent trust built in. And I have a lot of stories I can tell you about my own website, malokasound.com, which is my sound healing and breathwork and music medicine website that I've done my own SEO for. And it's been really cool to see how that has grown from no visibility to people coming in from all over the place, asking for me to do private sessions for them or group events or wanting to know when my next event is or anything like that, because they're searching for sound practitioner near me, one of those types of things. And when they come in, they're already ready to go. It's such an easy sell. You don't have to be pushy. You're just basically just, here I am. And it's a much better approach. I'd much rather attract than chase.
Yes, absolutely. And I think just the examples you gave, one, you've built lead gen websites that you can rank. You've done this for companies we've worked with. You've turned that company into your own client. And now you also do it for the personal healing, the music and breathwork as well. It's just an example that, yes, these practices can be applied to almost any industry or business and still get some pretty great results. Are there businesses who should avoid SEO and should focus on other methods? Because I know B2C SEO is huge. B2B, it's a little more challenging. Is there a path of least resistance for industry or based on consumer feedback that you've had?
I would tell you particularly something like event marketing would be a great example. Let's say a concert sale or a retreat or a festival or any of those types of things where it's an event that people have to be aware of something to search for it. They may search for concerts near me tonight or concerts on a particular date or something like that. And of course, good to be found for those types of things. But if you're trying to push an event that is timely in nature and you have to create awareness around it first, people aren't going to search for it without awareness. That would be one of those types of things where if you're trying to sell concert tickets, I wouldn't go the SEO route. If you're anything like that, and I can give you other examples, but I think that's a really good example of where if you're in an industry that people do not inherently search for, then don't spend your time on SEO because it is definitely a long-term investment and you don't want to spend at least 12 months or so. Sometimes more, depending on how competitive it is and where you're starting and all those kind of things. But you don't want to go down that route if people aren't even searching for it. But I will tell you, there's a lot of good tools out there and agencies can help you, like WebTech and my agency or others out there. And you can even find tools like this that we can talk about that help you find what we call keyword research that can help you find the demand around estimated search volumes for different phrases. And there's actually even a market for what you're trying to sell before you even go down that path. And that's obviously a very important part of any SEO campaign is the beginning audit and background research stage before you even get started with any execution.
Right. You don't want to be pushing content out there that's not going to rank or the volume is just too low that it may not be worth your time. And those are focused most on the top of funnel strategies. But what's great about that content is when you build it right for your audience, that becomes a middle of funnel tactic too, where now you're nurturing that lead and prospect becoming into a customer, which is really cool.
Definitely. And that's something we could also talk about if you want to as well. Chris is just talking about the customer journey of the medical space. We call it the patient journey, about where they start on a research phase. Let's just use the patient journey, for example. In the medical world, people will start by looking at a symptom first. Maybe they have some sort of rash, looking at the symptoms for their certain type of rash. And then it leads into the treatment. But then they realize they've got some sort of dermatitis or whatever. And then they go into a dermatologist near me. And then it's looking at best dermatology in Salt Lake or looking at comparing them. There's the journey of starting when they've got the problem and then down to middle of funnel and then end of the funnel where they're like, dermatologist near me, book an appointment right now. That's the ultimate.
Right. But that educational piece, that awareness and consideration piece that some of us can kind of overlook that it's not until that consideration phase where they're picking between 3 to 5 potential dermatologists in this instance, or maybe a roofer or whatever, that they're now deciding based on the brand as opposed to just being aware of a problem and then aware that solutions exist and then further move along in that journey. I always like to promote removing friction within the buyer's journey. You mentioned the easy next step to book the call or book this meeting, next steps. I find the friction is often a point where people aren't sure where to go or what the next step might be. I feel like that's a huge piece of that buyer's journey, is removing that friction or any obstacles that they might face. And I think we get that through some of our analytics, just looking at past campaigns. Where did they get stuck?
And I think that's a really good point that I think a lot of SEOs might overlook. And one of the things that we really specialize in is CRO, conversion rate optimization. And I will just say the four main pillars of conversion optimization that we look at are value proposition. When you're looking at a landing page, when someone lands on a landing page of a website, we're considering four main things, and there's a lot more that goes into it. But to keep it simple, the value proposition. Value prop is like, what is it that you offer and what kind of sets you apart from your competitors, and what is your value proposition? I think that's probably a word that people most likely will understand. The next thing is user experience, offers, and calls to action. Let's lay those all out. User experience having to do with what they experience when they're on the website. How quickly does it load? What's the look and feel of it? What is the content and some of those things that affect the user experience? The calls to action, those are going to be things like book now, chat with me. The three big ones in lead generation are going to be click to call, click to email, and form submission for the most part. And then you have those other ones I just mentioned. And then in e-commerce, the call to action is going to be like add to cart and then go through the cart process. That's the kind of calls to action where we really want to focus on the goal of your business and how do you address that with an action for them to perform. And then the last part is offers. Really understanding, and this comes down also to competitive analysis and things like that we can get into, but the offers is like buy one, get one free, book a free 30-minute consultation, whatever the offer is to kind of get them to reach out to you, and looking at those four main things. But I think the reason why I want to also bring up that is because it's interesting that Google looks so closely at engagement scores. We used to measure engagement by looking at things like time on site, bounce rates, pages per session, funnel metrics, things like that, where we would look and see how engaged people are on your website. And this is prior to Google Analytics 4, GA4, it's called, kind of the new version of Google that came out. It's been a little while now, but they rolled that out slowly, and eventually now everybody's on GA4. In GA4, one of the big advancements was they have a new metric called engagement rate, which is essentially defined as like number of events per session, number of things that clicked on, scrolled down, navigated to, things like that. And your engagement rate is really important as you rise to the first page of Google. Now you do this, and I'll get into how you can get to the first page of Google, but let's just say once you get to the first page of Google, they don't just immediately put you on the first page. There's something that we call audition for position. They give you a chance on Google to be seen for the phrase you're looking for. And then they're going to look at your engagement rate relevant to the other websites that are on the first 10 listings of Google, or further down also. But mainly they're looking at what is the best website for this query, because it all has to do with the user experience of the search engine. And they care a lot about that, of course. When you get to the first page of Google, that engagement score becomes super important, not only for your actual traffic coming to your website. Of course, you want to engage that. You want to have high conversion rates just because you want to squeeze the most conversion out of every visit. But Google cares a lot about it. And we have some clients, we do all this work with great content and off-page link building up authority, relevancy, and trust through all of the SEO things that we do, but they may have some resistance around putting up certain offers or different things to have some technical issues or legacy software or something that limits their ability to create a really good engagement score. And if they do that, they're going to slip in rankings. It's like Google would actually prefer a newer website that doesn't have as much legacy, as we say in the world. If you have an aged domain, lots of brand equity and brand history and all these links pointing to the website and all these kind of things, we call, like, that's essentially like your equity. But if you get to the first page of Google with all that legacy, but you don't have a good user experience and good engagement, Google doesn't care as much. They'd rather take the shiny new kid on the block that provides a really great user experience, answers the question, is really mobile friendly, has great offers, all these things. That actually kind of trumps the legacy. Now, however, the best situation is to have a lot of legacy, a lot of domain equity, relevancy, authority, and trust that you've built up over time, and have a great engagement and user experience and CRO elements all in place. That's the kind of ultimate situation, is we find a client who's got good legacy with poor on-page and poor CRO. We come in and optimize that, and all of a sudden you harness all the link power that you've already got, and then you start getting the rankings. And then when the rankings drive traffic, then you tweak and optimize the conversion, the CRO experience.
That is so true, and similar experiences for me as well. But I think it kind of shines a light on there being some hope for the new kid, the new business on the block who wants to rank and feeling like if just I could get some eyeballs on this and people could test my experience here, what that could do for my business. And same for other businesses who have invested heavily into SEO, but not the CRO side, where it's really keeping users on the page, clear next steps to the buyer's journey without complicating them. Because if you make it too complex and they're engaging, but they're going to back out real quick. They're going to be like, no, thanks. I'm not interested. You make a great experience. You can build this trust, expertise, and authority through Google, but it gives us hope for new businesses who are just kind of starting out and just want to get out there.
Definitely. And things are evolving so quickly. I think it's probably a good time to talk about SEO has always been search engine optimization, right? That's the term that it's SEO related to. But now, with all the evolution of AI, with the chat GPTs and what we call answer engines in Gork and Claude and Gemini, the ones that are these new platforms that people are going to search, we're really calling it search everything optimization or search experience optimization around the whole search world, essentially, the way that people search. There's another term that's important too as well now called answer engine optimization, or AEO. How do you get yourself found within ChatGPT? That's a whole other algorithm, which actually happens to be similar in a lot of ways to Google in terms of how they build their knowledge base and all those kind of things. A lot of what we've been doing for a long time with effective link building and content creation and what we call social promotion and distribution through syndication and things like that, where we're taking content and building conversations and links pointing back to the domain as the call it the thought leader or the subject matter expert in the space. It is all about thought leadership and creating content that can be discovered by these other search platforms, essentially. And I'll get into how we're tracking metrics. I think that's another interesting thing for marketers, knowing how do you track metrics these days. But just to kind of conclude that thought, it's the other side of it too is what we're calling zero-click marketing, as you said earlier. What that means is one of the ways that we've always told the story of success with SEO is that once all your on-page optimization is tight, you have good landing pages and good page optimization and that's all tight. Once that's done, then we always say that links lead to rankings, rankings to impressions, impressions to traffic, and traffic to conversion. Ultimately, the goal is about conversion, but you can't just do SEO and show conversion right away. It's a journey. We show that as we build these links, you get to the first page of Google. And then as you start to get on the first page of Google, you get what's called an impression. They just saw you on Google. And then as you get into the traffic driving positions, the top 3 to 5 is really where the majority, like the 90+% of clicks happen in the top 3 to 5. If you're not there, you're not getting clicked on, but you got to get impressions first. But then the traffic goes to the website and the website converts it. Now, because of zero-click marketing, just to explain what that means that people are going to Google and seeing the AI overview now, and they're getting the answer to their question without even going anywhere besides the search results page. It's a SERP, we call it, the search engine results page. They're getting the answer right on the SERP. And that's a whole other piece of real estate that's really important. How do you get placement within that box of Google? And that actually ends up coming down to a lot of really good off-page optimization, a lot of really good content creation, and being a thought leader, which ends up working really well for ChatGPT and Gorks and all those other out there. And what's been working well for creating good quality content, thought leadership, is now working in this new world of AI. And I think a good point to stop for a second.
No, it's great information and really insightful because just the way we try to reason why we do SEO and following the stages of that journey really highlight we're really just auditioning for position here, and they want to match the user intent. And as trends change, as people are asking ChatGPT and these other LLMs for the information, where does that leave us as marketers for SEO and take it to another level? But I just think it highlights the importance of being found, getting found online, and making that information easily accessible for both people and for AI.
Exactly. It's just a matter of getting found and being the thought leader. And it's been about that for a long time. It's just the platforms are evolving now. It's just AI is evolving how people are engaging with their searches, but it's all still super important stuff. If you've been doing SEO the right way for a long time, you're benefiting now from this. And I think in terms of tracking, I don't know how nerdy we want to get into this, but Google doesn't even have a channel. Within Google Analytics, they have different channels where you can look at your traffic. It comes from direct traffic or search traffic or referral or email or different places, like sources that people find you and come to your website. They don't even have a channel for answer engines yet. We actually created what's called a custom segment. We have identified a set list of websites that are answer engines like ChatGPT. And we define that as its own channel. And what we find really interesting that's been happening is I've said that links lead to rankings, to impressions, to traffic, to conversion. Well, we're actually seeing clients who've been doing SEO for 3+ years and have really established year-on-year metrics that have been growing year-on-year each month, have more visibility from a rankings perspective, meaning that they're being found in Google just as much or more than they were last year, but their actual organic traffic is down now because number one, they're getting the answers right on Google, not even coming to the website. Number two, they're going to other places to get the information. So the traffic might be down, but what's really interesting that we've noticed across the board, whether it's e-commerce or lead generation, is that the quality metrics are much higher. You're getting less white noise traffic. You're getting less irrelevant traffic coming to your website. People have more refined searches and they're getting exactly what they're looking for. What that ends up meaning is that we're seeing that people have better conversion quality metrics. So it'll be things like conversion rates, engagement rates, and also average order values if you're e-commerce, or just quality of leads in general. You're getting less irrelevant leads and spammy leads or whatever. You're getting people who are looking exactly for what you're offering, and you're getting actually less clutter to deal with. It's actually cleaner in a lot of ways. It's actually better in that regard. Just how traffic never mattered. It was always about getting traffic for the purpose of conversion. And if you're getting conversion without traffic, but you're still getting found online and getting the conversions, you're getting the quality audience that you're looking for, it's actually a good thing. It's a matter of just evolving with the way things are.
And it does feel like at the end of the day, this is a benefit for many businesses and marketers out there to not be having to nurture all these unqualified, uninterested white noise leads that are just cluttering up our CRMs and automation systems that we use to help nurture. And I think it opens up more time, more quality time for you as a business owner and your team to have that one-on-one with the client. And if they're already pre-warmed up, pre-qualified, this is like a win in our books. I feel like that trend and change, it'll be interesting to see if that continues and what shifts we'll have in the future as well.
Definitely. And the thing is, even when you mention efficiency, it's something like a remarketing. It's a great example, right? Just to define that really quick, is when someone comes to your website, you can remarket to them, meaning that you can set up campaigns that says, if someone came and saw this certain product, now follow them around the web with this certain product. Or if they came to the homepage and did not convert, it could be as general as that, then follow them around reminding of the brand, because they say it takes 7 impressions to remember something. It's a good way of just really being able to get right in front of them, and I guess leave it there. I know we're running a little bit short on time.
No, that was excellent. Justin, I wanted to ask, where can people connect with you and find you online?
Webtech.co is probably the easiest way to find us. That's WEBTEK.co. And you can find us on social. We also have some social presence. It's not our biggest thing, but I would just say go directly to our website, webtech.co.
I was just going to mention we'll have those links available down in the show notes and the description for everybody. Now, we're about, Q2 of 2025. Are you preparing for any exciting new launches, any new product things, or are you kind of just doing the same everything that's been working great for you already?
We've got a ton going on. Where do we start? We're actually building some in-house tools, some proprietary software and things that will be good for marketing agencies as well as for clients. We've always been very much a boutique agency and very hands-on approach with our clients. And our big thing is we do a lot with that, everything from small businesses to enterprise. We work with some really big brands and been doing that a long time. That's kind of where it came from, a bigger brand experience. But one of the problems that we didn't really want to dabble in the $1,000 a month or less type clientele, because you don't want to, back in the day, that's just garbage. You get what you pay for. And now these days, there are options that are AI driven. We can automate a lot of the things that we used to have to do hands-on, and it actually does a good job at it. It's basically our light package, which is less management, but it allows you to work with a professional agency, having the whole strategy component and all those kind of things built in with a lot of the efficiencies and automation that happens there. And there's just so many things that we're doing, but I would say that one of the biggest things that we're a bit of a separation in our service offerings is that we have more AI driven automation option versus our other tier. And I would say the other tier is kind of like there's been a bit of a separation in the SEO world where there's kind of a reduction of the middle class, right? You've either got the mom and pop or whatever kind of cheaper range that we can now cater to in a much better way at a lower price point. And it's so complicated now that the enterprise solutions are looking for more from us and really understanding how do we use AI to get better and how do we account for this shift in the search world and what metrics do we track and all these really complicated situations where Scott and I, between the two of us, have over 40 years of experience in the SEO world and working with over 1,500 clients. That level of experience that we can bring to the table can really help the more advanced level clients be able to navigate the super complicated and quickly evolving world that we're in now. It's always been fast. SEO has always been fast, but it's like we're all reinvigorated by the excitement of this new Wild West that we're in. It feels like we're going back to pre-Panda and Penguin days where you could get a website to rank in 30 days or less. And it's just like gunslinging all over again. And we love that. We're reinvigorated. We're excited to be in the SEO world at this point.
That is so exciting. 2025 sounds really great for you. A lot of new projects coming to the table, bringing tech, you're pivoting and finding the right market fit for some of the services that you can now serve these clients a little bit better with more of a hands-off experience, which is excellent. Justin, so excited for the future of web tech and yourself. Congratulations to everything you've done. Thank you for coming on, sharing your tips and wisdom with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
Same here.